I'm going to make this as brief as possible, but I'm going to end up, before we get out of here, making a request or two of you. And before I make those requests, I want to develop a little context for those requests. And the first point in terms of the context is what this event for the last 2 days has been here in Tantera. As you know, you have been attending the Missouri School Board Association Leadership Summit. The people in this room are the core of the leadership of this organization. As Jerry just pointed out, we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of challenges ahead of us, but I truly believe that it's this group who has been in attendance at this conference this weekend is the core of the 3,500 school board members that we have available to us in order to accomplish big things. I also want to remind you that we have a vision in this organization, and the vision statement which we currently strive for was established during the presidency of Sharon Horbick, who's with us today. And that is that Missouri's public schools will be the best in America. We also have a mission statement, and the mission statement of this organization is, for MSBA, is about helping school boards succeed. If we understand what the role of school boards are, summarily, it's about providing the resources that enable our children, 900,000 of them statewide, to obtain the best possible education that they can have. That's the function of school boards. In addition to that mission, we have multiple statements, some very specific about school finance in our platform document, in our resolutions that we pass and we consider by our delegate assembly each and every year. We have a strategic plan which the board of directors reviews, adopts, and amends annually. And the fifth point, the first strategy within that strategic plan is that the Missouri School Boards Association will be the premier voice for the protection and advancement of public education. We also, just a short 2 years ago, developed the Vision Project. Many people in this room served on various subgroups within that report. Our incoming president, Phil Hutchison, Clay, was on the particular subsection that dealt with finance. I know there's others of you in this room that also served on that task force. The very first recommendation under the section of finance, and by the way, many of your local boards of education passed resolutions adopting and supporting this vision report as well. The very first, the very first recommendation under the finance section of the vision report was entitled Finance a World-Class Education. And the supporting statement is, quote, provide an adequate and equitable school finance system that will place Missouri in the top 10 in rankings of state support for school funding, end quote. You no doubt heard by now that the governor, Nixon, has vetoed House Bill 253, the huge tax cut bill that would threaten the ability of the state to fund public education, and particularly early childhood education, for years to come. That bill, when fully implemented, would result in a loss of state revenue of $800 million a year. Now, to put that in perspective, that's more than the total amount of state revenue that is currently being expended for higher education. It is the total amount of state revenue, provided for corrections. It is the total amount of state revenue provided for mental health. The bill would blow a significant hole in our state budget. And since K-12 education funding now totals 30% of general revenue through the foundation formula, cuts to the education of K-12 can certainly be anticipated and expected. Let's make no mistake about it. The governor's veto of this bill was extremely important, and I want to thank several of you in this room this morning, the core of leadership of this organization, for attending those press conferences in Kansas City and Springfield just this week. Thank you so much. But the battle is far from over. There will be an attempt by the legislature to override the veto during the veto session in September, and all of us must contact our legislators this summer and ask them to oppose the veto override attempt. Got to get that straight. But even if the veto of this bill is sustained, there no doubt will be other tax cut bills introduced for the 2014 legislative session. And for that reason, your association has called together more than 20 organizations throughout Missouri to form a coalition for Missouri's future. The coalition's purpose is to prevent the veto override of House Bill 253 in the short run, and to oppose future attempts to reduce state revenue that will threaten funding for education and other critical state services. You obviously will be hearing more from the coalition in the coming weeks with suggestions on how you and your Board of Education can be effective advocates on this important issue. If you are or were a delegate yesterday and attended the delegate assembly, you know we heard from Jack Jensen about the importance of early childhood education. Clearly, we as a state need to be making a significantly greater investment. There's nothing that provides a better ROI than early childhood education. In contrast to that, be aware that in 2012, the Federation of Tax Administrators ranked Missouri the 5th lowest in per capita state taxes in the country, representing a lower tax burden than all of our surrounding states. Moreover, a 2012 report by Ernst & Young and the Council on State Taxation ranked Missouri's effective business tax rate as the 8th lowest in the country. Reducing our already low state tax burden will do nothing for us except put funding for our schools in jeopardy. In closure, the request. I urge you to do everything that you can this summer to ensure that your local legislators do not support the override of Governor Nixon's veto. Again, I want to thank you for being here for this conference. I want to thank you for your leadership on this issue, as well as everything pertaining to the advancement of high-quality public schools. Have a great day, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon at another upcoming MSBA event. Have a good conference.